on this episode.
You literally feel also all your feelings at the toppest of, like, you feel everything to an extreme. It's, like I said it in a bunch of my videos, like when I'm happy, I feel like I'm in heaven. When I'm sad, or when I'm angry, I feel like I'm burning in hell. When I'm sad, I'm suicidal, and then when I'm going through a heartbreak, I'm a shattered mess.
Today I speak with Zackare DiMaria as he tells his life story and his struggles with borderline personality disorder. Where does your story begin?
My story began in terms of BPD, or
Just
just mental
wherever.
health in general.
I'd say kind of talked about it a little before, but there's just in general, where would you say?
So my story started at a very young age when, like I said, I've in some of my content, I've had anything but a normal childhood. But it was manageable. For the first 9 years of my life, I watched my mom go through hell and back, but she was always there. She was always there to tuck me in. She was always there to tell me she loved me. She was always there to let me know I was safe. And on my mom's side, I have a lot of siblings, right? Like I have Wes, Josh, Mary, Tiara, and myself. And then on my father's side, I share a dad with my brother Lance. And my mom was married a bunch of times. She was married, I believe, 8 times. And it wasn't always like a long relationship with her. I watched multiple men come in and out of the house growing up. And
Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I am from No, you're good, man. I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey, but I grew up in Ocean County. Ocean. Well, I don't. You're not really familiar with Jersey, so Ocean County, they like MTV was out there to fill the Jersey Shore and stuff. They filmed in Seaside Heights. And I spent a lot of my life in Seaside Heights. I literally was the next town over as well, Toms River, Beechwood area. And I watched my mom. Growing up, it really was not a bad area. Just recently now, there's a lot of drug addiction. There is a lot of crime. There is a lot of all that stuff. It looks like a nice area, but that saying, looks can be deceiving. It's definitely not an area I would want to raise a family in now. Just because of the takeover of gangs that are going on over there and stuff. And it's wild that that's where my kids are, So my mom, she was a very unstable woman psychologically. She would get into physical altercations with all of these dudes, excuse my language, but beat the shit out of them, all this stuff. And there was a bunch of times where I thought my mom died growing up because she would get knocked out. And, me being the little boy that I was, I would jump in and I would try to make sure she was okay. And then I would get the shit end of the stick sometimes. And it would go on like that. And that's what normal was for me up until I was 9 years old. And after I hit 9, my mom had her 5th kid, Mary. And my mom went through really bad postpartum depression. And one day we just woke up and my grandmother took us away. And I didn't know why. She said, Mommy's going to go away for a little while right now. So you're going to come live with us. And my mom just could not handle the burden and hardships of being a parent anymore, because she was telling my grandmother all this crazy shit, like she wanted to kill us and drive us off a bridge and all this other shit. So my grandparents felt obligated, and it was necessary to step in. And I barely knew my father. I still barely know my father. I don't talk to the man. I know who he is. I know his name. I just don't know him, really. Um, and I, that's my, so I'm going to get a little personal about it, but, some I'm trying to work on is being more open about the things I've been through. My father went to prison for child molestation when I was, I believe, 9, until I was 17. And I was told at a young age that he was going to California to um, paint and stuff. And I barely spoke to him, but the times I did, he would tell me what he was doing and all this other stuff out there. But literally, he was in prison. And it wasn't until I was around 12 ish, I think, that my sister Tiara, um, she told me what he really did. And I didn't, I was still young at that point where I really didn't understand, like I was old enough to understand he was in jail, but I didn't grasp the whole molestation thing. Um, and he molested so like I was saying earlier, my brother Lance and I, we share a dad, Carmen, and Lance had 2 sisters. Well, had 2 sisters. Amy passed away, but he had Amy and Sammy. And he molested them, Amy and Sammy. And he went to prison for an X amount of time for it. So, when my grandparents came and took over, it was hell on earth. It was hell on earth until I was 16. I would get abused. I would get beat. I would be told I was a fat, nothing, retarded piece of shit because when I was younger, I was on Social Security, because I have TBI, and TBI is traumatic brain injury, from when an accident when I was young, and I was literally just tormented every single fucking day. I had curfews of when I could go out and hang out with people, and I wouldn't be allowed out for more than a half hour at a time. Um, I was I would sit at dinner and I would sit at the table and I was made certain foods and certain foods I wouldn't like. And I would go, there was a couple times where I would go sneak and throw away these foods. And my grandmother would take the plate out of the garbage and sat and make me fucking eat it. Um, and there was dog shit and shit in the fucking garbage, you know what I'm saying? And
Oh,
she would
yeah.
sit and watch me eat it. And if I didn't eat it, I'd get my fucking ass whipped.
Yeah, they're saying
like,
now that kids that are like forced to eat stuff like food end up with can end up with like eating disorders when they get older.
yeah, luckily I didn't go through that. Yeah, it's pretty wild what I went through. And then when I hit 16, um, all those years I would, all the years of abuse and everything, I met up with my stepbrother, well, my half brother Lance, um, and I haven't spoke a single word to that kid. Literally, I honestly forgot all about him up until I was 16, and literally he was one town over from me that entire time. And I didn't know because my family and my dad's family and or my family and my brother's family we didn't know of each other at all. So I was at the local park one day, and someone asked me what my name was, and I told them my name's Zackare DiMaria, and they said DiMaria, and I said, yeah, why? Her name was Bobby, and she said, that sounds like a lot like my friend Lance's last name. And I said, what's, and then it clicked. I was like, Lance. I was like, wait, what? What's his name? And she said, it's Lance DiMaria. I said, that's my fucking brother. What the fuck? And showed me to where his house was, literally like a 10-minute walk. showed me where his house was and everything. And I wanted to, and the wild thing was every Monday I would go like to my grandmother's house. Like I have two grandmothers, right? Like my dad's grandmother and my mom's grandmother. I would go to my dad's grandmother's house literally every Monday, just to, spend time with her and everything. And he was literally down the street from her. And they didn't even tell me about Lance and everything. So one of the Mondays that I went to my grandmother's house, I actually walked down the street of where his house was just to see if I'd see him outside. Because she showed me a picture of him, and I didn't see anybody. And a couple weeks went by, and then I went back to my grandmother's house, and then I got the courage enough to go knock on Lance's door. And his brother, Joe, answered the door. And he was like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I said, "My name's Zack." And that family did not want me there because of the shit my dad did. They totally had a hatred for me for absolutely no reason, not because of the shit Carmen did. And they forbade Lance from talking to me. And eventually one day me and Lance just met up at the park. And then that's when I started getting really heavy into drugs. Lance was a drug dealer. Lance would sell weed, right? And I, you know, I didn't know anything about it. I smoked when I was younger, like 12 or 13 with my sister Tiara. Didn't really like it and gave it up. I didn't even get high at that point. But when I started hanging around Lance, I started smoking a lot. I would go home high, and then it would got to the point where I would start buying drugs and everything else, and then I would
Is this
start
just
running
weed?
away from home. Yeah, yeah. No. I wouldn't get into the heavier shit until a little later down the road. But I would start running away from home and stuff, and my grandparents would always file like not missing persons, but they would call the police and tell them I would hang around Lance, and Lance was well known by the cops. Um, and then I was just a young, dumb teenager trying to understand life and shit at that point. Like, I was still trying to understand why my mom left. I was still trying to understand why my dad went to prison. I was still trying to understand all that stuff. And I was a nobody in high school. I was not popular by any means. I was one of those people who would hang out with like all the popular people, the nerds, the jocks, though, but I wasn't popular. And I was in special education, and I had a bunch of bullies in high school, and Lance was the popular one. Everybody knew who Lance was. So even though I was older than him, I'm older than Lance by like 2 years. I still felt cool because for once in my life, I felt like I was, a somebody walking next to, this dude who was selling all these drugs and getting all these girls and everything. I didn't lose my virginity till I was 19, bro. You know what I'm saying? Um, I had a different ideology about why I wanted to lose my V card at 19, but we'll get into that at a different time. But yeah, it was pretty wild all that time. And then it got to the point where my grandparents couldn't take me anymore. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle the running away. They couldn't handle how I was living my life, and they sent me away. Uh, I went to a place called Paterson, New Jersey. It's a very, very, very crime gang, drug induced riddled area in New Jersey. It is a very bad fucking place. I went to a place called YCS Kilbarkin, and I was one of two white kids there. I got beat up for being white. I literally got for fucking 2 years, dude, from 16 to 18. My life was tormented because I was white. Believe it or not. I know that sounds wild, but like that's what it was. I had to learn how to fight and all this stuff. And then it got to a point where like
Not to stop you,
go
but
ahead.
what is this place? Is it like a school or what is it?
All right, so YCS Kilbarkin, YCS stands for Youth Consultation Services. So it was a home for troubled youth.
Okay, and so are you
And
still going to like school, or is the school inside this
yeah,
place?
yeah. So literally, it was juvie. Literally,
Okay.
I was told when to eat, sleep, shit, shower, shave, school. That was it. We had PT time, which is physical therapy. Um, we ate in a dining hall like fucking prisoners would. Like literally, it was jail
What were you
for
guys
bad
wearing?
kids.
Did you guys have like your own
Oh no,
clothes,
we
or
had our own. We had our own clothes and stuff, but it was jail basically for kids. um,
and they'd
and
like watch what you could own and stuff like that, or
Yup,
like
yup. You couldn't have phones. You couldn't have like PSPs were getting big back then, so you couldn't have a PSP. You literally couldn't do shit without the approval. And these motherfuckers, like these, all right, so they had people who would watch over the kids. They would intentionally find reasons to restrain you and throw you on the ground and slam you on the ground and just put you in a fucking choker hold and find any reason they could to abuse you. That's just what it was there. So I literally stayed to myself, kept quiet, and I didn't want to get beat up by a grown ass man. So I gave nobody no reason to bother me until it was all the times that I had to fight people because, you know, oh, he's a crack of this, he's a crack of that, all that stuff.
so
Um,
wait, you didn't make friends with any of these people? Like,
Barely, bro, barely. I was literally by myself. It was a very, very, very lonely time. And I
would
guess
they like
this is
click up?
why, yeah. Oh, yeah, bro. Oh,
Was
yeah.
there any
It was like,
Hispanics, or is it just whites
yup.
and black people?
It was literally most majority of was Hispanics and black kids. And the black kids would hang out with the black kids, the Hispanics would hang out with the Hispanics. And I had nobody, even though their white kid didn't want to talk to nobody. So I was literally by myself, like, fuck, what the fuck am I?
So hold on.
Fuck, man.
So, and I like to
It
kind of
was
break this up because I feel like if we just fly through all these details, you end up missing a lot. So you've, I'm
sorry
sure at
for
this
smoking, by
time,
the way.
you good. Um, so at this time, you probably kind of feel a little bit abandoned, right? So your mom ends up leaving, and then your grandparents, even though, because I mean, I
Running
hate to,
away.
was there any good times with your grandparents, or was it mostly just
No, God, no, dude. Let me tell you about them. Right, my grandparents, what they did was they got tired of raising me because I was such a handful that they
were you?
threw me into. Yeah, I was. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah,
would
no,
do
I'm
dumb shit like steal from them and all this other shit. And I've apologized so many times for how I conducted myself as a teenager. Um, but what they did was they threw me into a place, and I was getting Social Security at the time, and they told me that they were going to put a hold on my Social Security so all that money could be there for to help me start my life when I got out at 18. They didn't do that. They kept all that money, and what they did was spend it on themselves and pretty much just use it for down payments on like a car, like a new Dodge Durango. They expanded their yard, and I mean, it wasn't really a lot of money, but like an extra $900 a month. And they told them that I went away to school so they can
you
up
can
my.
finance a lot of shit for not, dude. I could buy a 2020 truck right now if
Yeah,
you gave me 900 bucks a month.
like exactly. See what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they used all that stuff because they were my legal guardians. And they just put me away and they relished from all the benefits of my Social Security. Um, and I didn't know none of that was going on. I literally thought that money was being put away until I got out. Until they said they wanted me to graduate high school, and I did. I graduated high school. If I wasn't in a place like that, I wouldn't have. And when when then the end of when sorry, I'm jumbling over my words. But by the time school ended and I graduated, My grandparents came to my graduation, and my mother said she was going to come. My mom was obviously a no-show for whatever reason. She had some bullshit ass excuse. I don't remember what it was, but my grandparents were there, and I was like so excited to go home, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't going to be there anymore, and I knew I wasn't going to have a hard time with like just living anymore. Um, and they told me they weren't ready for me to come home yet, and I broke down and I cried. Probably one of the hardest times I've ever cried in my life. At that point, um, they said that you know they just didn't think I was ready, and they wanted to see me, excel in a lot of stuff before they could even consider me coming home because of how hard it was raising me. They just weren't really like too keen on the idea. So at that point, I was 18 and I couldn't be in that program anymore because I'm a full grown adult now. That place was for juveniles and teenagers and stuff. So I had to get transferred to another program called YCS Aging Out, and it was in a place called Sicklerville, New Jersey. And that's where you had to learn. That's where they were trying to put you on a path to be an adult. Like you had to find a job. They were going to help you get a license and all this other stuff.
So in theory,
And
it could be really good.
it very well could be. Oh yes, oh yes. I have no doubt in my mind I might have described it really bad, but like that whole company has had thousands of success stories with kids that they have reinformed and everything like that. So, it just depends on the individual. Just because someone's saying that they're going to try their best to change someone doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. It's like, you could have literally the best upbringing, but still end up killing people. You could literally have the best upbringing and still be a drug addict. It just depends on who the person is.
I'm gonna ask a few questions because I just want to kind of because you talked about how I'd asked you if you were a handful and you said yes.
Yeah.
Um, do you think if you would have had maybe a more supportive or even I don't like to say this, but do you think if you would have had a better guide or leader that would have helped?
Oh yes, 1,000,000%. Yeah. I had so many questions about so many things growing up. I felt worthless. I had no friends. I was a loner. And I carry a lot of those traits into adulthood, like being a loner. I need my alone time, and that stems from being alone a lot as a child. Like when I was with my grandparents, I would watch all of my siblings go every weekend with their fathers, and I was stuck home alone
And
without a
these
mother
are these your
or a father.
moms, mom and
Mother's
dad?
kids, mother's kids. Yeah.
So do you think
Oh
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of the way
My mother, she had Lynn, that was her biological mother, and then there was Mike, which was her stepdad.
so who were you
And
staying with
so
though? So and I just want to
I
clarify
was,
for my own self because like you were with your mom and then you went
mhm.
to your grandparents, right?
Yeah, I was with Root. I was with Lynn and Mike. That's my mom's mom and
And was
stepdad.
and Mike was her so it was like your step grandpa.
Yeah, my step grandpa. Yeah,
Now,
but I called him Mike.
so
Yep.
do you think that a lot of the reasons maybe your mom was the way she was because of your
Yes.
grandparents? So it's like a generational
Yes.
thing.
Oh, yes. My grandmother used the tactics of raising children as a generational thing. And her tactics was abuse in any form she could fucking do. It's either listen to me or I'm going to beat your fucking ass. That's it. That is it. And I don't care what object I use. I'm going to fucking break paddles on your ass. I'm going to hit you with metal objects. I'm going to hit you with something if you don't listen. And that's how it was. And that's what my mother went through.
So was there no and I feel like there needs to be a balance, right? So like this is my
Yeah, of
own
course.
kind of vibe on like if I don't have kids, so take everything I'm about to say with like a fucking grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
But just in general, I think is a if you look at it parenting or anything like leadership, there needs to be
Hmm.
balance, right? So I'd say you would need a strong figure in there and then
Oh yeah,
also like a caring, right? So like usually that'd be like a motherly energy and maybe a fatherly, right?
you do. You need a balance.
And
Kids need both a mother figure and a father figure.
was
They
Mike
really
a
do.
father figure at all or no?
No, God, no. God, no. Mike did everything to appease Lynn in his best possible way. And the wild thing was, Lynn cheated on my mom's dad. His name was Bob, with Mike, and ruined her whole marriage with him for Mike. So my mom already had a distaste for Mike. Um, and that went as far as abusing us, even. You know, it's if this is how she's going to do it, I'm going to do it tenfold because I want to make her happy. That type of thing. You know. So like
It
he
makes
was
you
just ruthless.
it makes you wonder what Lynn's parents were.
I really I've met Lynn's mom before she passed away. She was like 85 when she died. She wasn't too bad of a woman from what I can remember, but then she was also 85. So, she came off as like a sweet old lady. But I heard stories about her mom that was just absolutely nuts. I also heard stories from my mom before my mom passed away that it was just absolutely mayhem. So you could tell by a person how they are literally just because of how they were raised, dude. You know, almost to an extent.
Yeah, and I, so I'll try not to talk too much about myself, but like my dad,
You're good.
he his he got raised really by his stepdad. His stepdad was named Gary Schreckengoss, which literally I think translates to scary ghost.
Mm,
And apparently he was really like my dad looked up to him, but he was like really kind of almost abusive from what I've told. And
yeah.
and I think that's kind of because my how do I say this? So my where my grandma and them they were I'd say upper middle class, and then what ended up happening is my dad I think got into drugs and all that stuff from like wherever he was his headspace, and that kind of got translated down onto me, right? And so
Mm,
maybe and I've been trying to avoid like I'm scared to even have kids because I've seen patterns right of like
yeah.
that generational thing. I think I'd be okay now. I think I'm in a better place. Um, and I've maybe grown and observed and know
It
that I don't
doesn't
want to
have to
be.
be a generational thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. But anyway,
I get where you're coming from, though.
yeah, I'm just pointing out that like it could have easily. I used to have an anger problem, and I'm pretty sure if I would have just had kids when I was 18, that who knows,
Mm,
right?
who knows what could have happened?
Yeah, I could have been a dick to my kids when I if I was like that. So
Yeah.
luckily, I think my dad, and I will say this, I do think my dad did instill a lot of like lessons in me and things to not have that happen. So
Yeah.
even if I think I still would have been okay looking back because my dad was a
Yeah.
good guy, but yeah, well, I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, so so now you're in the would you call it like it's like the next stage to get you into adulthood. They're gonna give you your driver's
Oh
license.
yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I went there, and I started making friends with a couple of people. For the first time, like not for the first time in my life, I had kids. I had, some friends growing up in middle school, not even middle school, but like, elementary school and stuff. But, yeah, I started making some friends there. And then, I was doing my thing, trying to be on my best behavior and stuff, trying to show my grandparents, hey, listen, I can come out now. I don't want this institutionalized life no more. I will do whatever I can. Just let me come home, please. I want freedom again, you know? They weren't budging. So it was at that point where I started talking to my mom again. And since I was 18, I was allowed to sign myself out. So what I did was like my mom, I started talking to my mom more, and my mom threw out the idea, well, you know what, why don't you just come live with me? And I looked at it as an opportunity to reconnect with my mother, because of all that time since childhood that I missed, and wondering where the fuck she went for a good portion of my life. That it was time. It was time to move forward with myself, and not only myself, but the relationship with my mother and I. So I signed myself out, and that's where I went to the seaside to go live with my mom for a couple weeks. And then she threw out the whole idea for going to move to West Virginia. Um, and I wasn't opposed to it. There was nothing tying me to Jersey anymore. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have any of that stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's go. This is a new beginning. This is a new chapter of my life, finally, to see all this stuff unfold. And boy, oh boy, I was in for a rude awakening with that woman, bro. Oh man, my mom was a really serious alcoholic. I didn't know that. I did not know that she was battling her own demons with addiction and everything. And my mom would black out, drink, and beat the shit out of me as a grown man. Um, Literally, she would not remember it at all. She would like punch me in my face, throw shit at me. It would just like relive a lot of the moments that I went through with like my grandparents. And then it would remind me of what my mom went through as a kid when I was watching her get beat up and all this stuff. It would bring up a lot of trauma, definitely. Um, and then literally like a day later, she would like sleep off the alcohol and everything, and she would like come try to talk to me like a normal fucking person, and then she'd be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, you fucking serious? Like, do you not remember this shit, dude?
Uh,
What the fuck do you mean? What's wrong? Like, what the fuck, dude? No, no, no. You're not gonna sit here and act like you didn't do nothing wrong, bro. You see the fucking mark on my face. I wonder how it got there, ma. Like, Jesus, dude. So, she was with this guy named Daryl. Her and Daryl get into it a lot physically. I had to break them up so many fucking times.
was he an
And
alcoholic too?
yep, well, he was a dope head. He was a heroin addict, and he would drink with my mom too all the time. Um,
Was he doing
I
heroin with
didn't
her?
know, not that I know of, but then again, this is my mom. She lied literally about every fucking thing imaginable, so I don't know. But where was I? Oh yeah, Daryl. Um, they were married for like 6 years or some shit at that point. Um, they would get into so bad fights, like she would beat the shit out of him, he would beat the shit out of her. I had to break them up so many times, man. And there was one specific time they like in the cabin we lived in West Virginia. Um, it was a two-bedroom loft, right? Like there was a downstairs, there was a living room. My room was next to the living room, and then in the living room shared a space with the kitchen, and it had a wood burning stove. They were upstairs in their loft arguing. Like, what else is fucking new at this point? Um, she was dangerously close to the stairs, right? So I went upstairs and I wanted to make sure nothing bad was going to happen. Um, and he goes to push her down the stairs physically, like mush, and something just snapped in me, like that, and I punched him in his fucking face, and I threw him on the bed. I didn't. Yeah, that's not really like my character, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like violence. I don't like to fight. I know how to fight. I will fight if I have to because of the shit I did grow. Like, you know, being in that program for all those years. You know, my thing is I'd rather talk my way to a peaceful resolution rather than try to fight somebody. It's just not necessary. But something snapped, and I just didn't want to see my mom get hurt. You know, even though she was a fucking psycho and all this shit, she was still my mom. And I just, I just totally broke out of character. And after that point, he just sat on the bed and looked at me like, "What the fuck just happened?" um, he didn't go after me or anything, but he didn't want to talk to me. He was like, "Get the fuck out of my room. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want. I'm done with your mother. I'm done with you. I'm done with this whole fucking bullshit." So I go downstairs. I sit in my room, and I just thought about everything that just happened. And then my mom was tipsy as fuck, coming in the room, trying to give me a hug and saying thank you and all this other shit. And I just told her to leave me alone because I'm so tired of this bullshit with you and Daryl and everything else. Daryl worked on a ski resort mountain. It was called Snowshoe Mountain in West Virginia. It's a ski resort that literally people from all over the planet come to go skiing and all this stuff. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. There is snow on that mountain because it's man-made snow. They have snow blowers there. They have certain machines that make snow. Like you put ice in it, chops it up finely, and then you just take this hose and just spray snow everywhere. That's what he did. He was a snowmaker. And they rode snowmobiles and stuff. And one day he was riding his snowmobile on the mountain and hit a patch of black ice and fell like 60 feet off there and hit his head on a rock, and he went into a coma. So my mom and I, like, we literally drove 3 hours there and 3 hours back every day for a whole month. And he was in a coma for a whole month. His family flew from New Jersey to go see him and stuff, and they hated my mother. Oh my God, they hated her. They didn't. They liked me because they could see what kind of kid I was, like my whole attitude and everything. But they hated her, and so somehow they were able to get Daryl back to New Jersey without my mom knowing. And when my mom found out that his family took him back to New Jersey because Daryl had a big settlement, and that's why they wanted him to go back home because he had a big settlement and he won like $1.5 million or some shit because he should have been wearing a helmet and he didn't. And it's protocol to do that stuff. So they won like $1.5 million or some. That's what I heard anyway. I don't know if there's any legitimacy behind there, but he won a lot of money. And my mom started going to the bar because she missed her husband and he wasn't there anymore. And she was also, you know, doing what alcoholics do, drinking every single fucking day. And she met someone else. His name was Juan. He is absolutely an amazing man. Juan is from Mexico. Juan builds houses for a living. He's not here legally, right? So, and him and my mom could barely fucking hold a conversation because he doesn't know English too well, and she's just only fluent in English. So I don't know how the fuck they got hooked up with each other, but my mom was all about money. Right? That's what equated to love with my mother. Money. If you had money, I damn sure love the shit out of you. Just put a diamond ring on my finger. I don't give a fuck. My mom was pampered from every guy that she's ever been with. She barely worked a day in her life. My mom could not
pretty attractive
job. Yeah, my mom was a stripper growing up. She was with this guy named Walter. My brother Wes and Mary's dad, Walter, was actually in a motorcycle gang called the Breeds, and it was just a crazy, like I said, it was a crazy fucking childhood with my mother. growing up. We'd go to like, they had these things called church on Sundays where like all the bikers would get together and, talk about illegal shit, fucking shit. Walter is a tattoo artist too. He was a tattoo artist for the club that he was in. And that's how my mom met him in the strip club. She was stripping and he would come in and, and that's how they got together. I didn't know she was a stripper at the time until I got older, and she would tell me stories about how she met all the guys, all my brothers and sisters, fucking, dads and stuff. And yeah, it was just too much growing up. But where was I? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
It's how podcasts are. I don't worry.
Yeah. Where were we?
You're talking about Juan.
Oh yeah, Juan. He was actually working on snowshoe, on the mountain, building like certain houses and stuff, and hotels, and all this other stuff. And he met her at the bar, and I believed from what my mom was telling me, and I can remember, is that they used a translator app on some older phones, how to communicate. And Juan literally took care of her. She made sure she never had to work. He literally would go bust his ass to pay for everything she's ever wanted. And he's a great fucking man, dude. I have a lot of respect for Juan. I like Juan. I didn't like him at first because I just didn't know about him. I didn't know anything about him, and I didn't want anything to do with him because,
And the history of her past boyfriends too.
Exactly. I just didn't want anything to do with him because I thought he was going to be trouble and all this other stuff. So
were they
my
fighting?
mom
would she fight with Juan?
Not at first. Not at first. Not that I could remember. No, I went to Juan's house once. Back before I left back for New Jersey. I went to his house. He gave me lamb, and it was the first time I ever ate anything other than chicken or hamburger or anything else. And I was like, "Yo, this is really good." It was actually lamb stomach. And he was like, you like? I said, yeah, what is it? And he just gave me a weird look like, I'm not going to tell you. Like, I was just like, what the fuck's that about? Ma, what is this shit? And she said, oh, you don't know? I said, no. Oh, that's fucking lamb stomach. And I almost cried on the inside. I was like, you fucking asshole. How dare you? You give me some foreign shit. I could have fucking, no. Dude, that's fucked up. And I didn't say any of that stuff to him, but I was so mad. And I just blew it off, and he asked me if I wanted more. And I looked at him like, you're joking, right? Like, you saw my face of disgust, and you're going to ask me if I want more of something that I've never had before. I'm good, man. So, I went back home and I started talking to Lance again. And this was at a point where my mom would leave me alone in the house with no food. I didn't have a license, nothing, no car, nothing. We were literally in the middle of nowhere, and the closest thing to get any food was literally 25-minute car ride away. This was like literally in the boondocks of West Virginia, dude. She would leave me alone in the house with nothing for weeks, 2 weeks. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And my brother Lance was like, you know what? Just come live here. I was like, I could fucking do that. Your family's gonna be okay with it. Like, I don't want to like live somewhere where I'm not wanted and all this other shit. And he persuaded his grandmother, said that I was gonna get a job and I was gonna pay rent and everything. And what I did was I just packed my shit and I told my mom I wanted to go home for a visit. Without telling her what my real intentions were. And she brought me to a train station and said, all right, well, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I said, cool. No, the fuck you won't. I'm not coming back, you fucking psycho. I don't want to step foot in another one of your houses ever again. So I didn't say that to her, but that was my whole intention right there. Never to fucking come back. I don't like it there. It's literally not a place for me. Especially with you, dude. No thanks. So, that's when I started getting into drugs heavy. Was when I was with Lance, for the second time. I would get into ecstasy. I did so much fucking drugs. Dude, I literally, when I went back to Jersey from West Virginia, I was 235 pounds. In a matter of a month, I went down to 160.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'5". I
You're
was fat. I still am fat. I'm like
how tall are you
two.
now?
Still, I'm 5'5".
All right, I was just curious because you never know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was 19 at that point, so like, I never grew an inch after that. I've been the same height since. I'm taller than my father, which is weird. But my mom was a giant. My mom was 5'11". Um, sorry, I'm hearing the guinea pigs rustling over there. I was hoping they're not fighting. Um, so yeah, I'm the shortest one out of all my relatives. Wes is taller than me. Josh is taller than me. Tiara is fucking taller than me. Mary is taller than me. Lance is taller than me. And it feels so weird seeing them in person because I have to look up to my younger siblings. Like, what's like, dude, come on, man. Why do I got to get the short end of the stick of all this? Wes is like 6 fucking foot. Josh is like 6'2". Lance is 5'11". Tiara is at least 5'10". Mary is like 5'7". And I am with my short little hobbit ass self. Like it just, yeah, I'm pretty upset with my genes. But yeah, I lost so much weight, dude, in a matter of a month. Um, and I was a weed head, dude. I was literally the pottest of potheads ever. Like
I feel like
and I was
pot though
selling.
is not nearly as bad as a lot of other
No,
drugs.
no. But I wasn't. I'm what you call. I was what you call an experimentalist. I literally did anything I could get my fucking hands on just to get high because I wanted to get high, and mostly because Lance was selling weed. I was smoking weed 99.99999% of the time.
I mean, I'd
And then
rather if I had kids. Sorry, I'll say this fast. Like, if I had kids,
you're good.
I'd way rather them be potheads than drink alcohol.
Oh yeah, dude. Compared to anything else,
Yeah.
But then I started selling weed. Lance sold a lot of weed. Lance was he was pushing weight. Lance was pushing pounds, quarter pounds, half pounds, all that stuff. I wasn't doing that big stuff. Lance literally made like 60 fucking grand a year just by selling weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not like in the town we were in, South Tom's River, bro. Like,
Is he
people were,
growing it or did he like get it from somebody?
he would go towns over to go buy it and then uh put it in secret compartments of his car and drive it back. And sometimes he would even have people drive him there. So just in case they got pulled over and dogs were pulled out, it would be blamed on someone else and not him. So, and he had so many people who would literally do anything for a fucking hit of weed, like even take blame for, having fucking 2-3 pounds of marijuana in the car, just for a fucking a hit of weed, dude. Like, it's crazy what some of these people would do just to get fucking high, man. But they were also young and stupid, you know. So that went on for a very long time. About a couple years, Lance and I would be, selling weed. I wasn't really too successful doing it because I would just start smoking my own supply, and I would just have enough to resupply my own supply.
I think that's how most of us that I mean, from my own experience, when I tried selling weed, that's how it ended up. I just ended up smoking all my stuff, or
Yeah,
I have enough to smoke out all my friends, and then that was it.
I was such a bad drug dealer, dude. Like, I, I would literally take the seeds and stems, pull out pieces of fucking weed, and then like equal out the weight because of the seeds and stems. Everybody would have a scale, and everybody would bring their scale. And the rule of thumb was it was zero point 0.8 for the nug, and then with the weight, it was 0.8 for the nug, and the baggie was 0.2, so it would equal out to a gram. I would literally give people zero point 0.4 grams of nug and literally point, fucking 6 of just seeds and stems. So I was such a fucking shitty fucking drug dealer. And it got to the point where nobody wanted to come by for me anymore. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to smoke all my shit. And then this obvious drug dealing shit ain't for me.
Yeah, because
Later.
You don't want to feel like you get ripped off, right? When you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah. Well, I got into a lot of trouble with a lot of different fucking people, bro, because of fucking what I was doing. So, then me
like,
and
this
Lance
is
had a
fucking
falling out.
oregano, bro. This is oregano.
Yeah, dude. There have been times where I've been tempted to do it, but I didn't do it because you could tell, obviously, oregano from marijuana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes even the smell of oregano overpowers the bud. If you put too much of it in there. So, dude, Lance and I had a falling out. One night he was gaming. He had a PS3 back when PS3 was the fucking hottest shit on the planet. And one like he because Lance would smoke some of his own stuff too, but not enough to where he would be like, not profiting. So he was
He's
very
probably just doing a
smart.
lot of volume to where his little nug
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. His little bit wouldn't equate to anything. So I don't know how he's gonna feel about me talking about this, but he doesn't sell drugs anymore. So he's actually very successful. My brother Lance, he makes almost 90 grand a year right now doing HVAC, heating and air conditioning. He's got his own house. He's doing fucking phenomenally, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him, dude. Like he's got 3 kids. He's doing good, and I'm happy for him. He's happy, and that's all that matters. I've heard, but yeah, no, him and I had a falling out one day. He was gaming and he went to reach out into you know, his magical bag of like fucking, 2-pound bag of bud, and he knocked over a little bit onto the floor. And my drug addict ass self, like I was like, ooh, he might not notice this shit. So what I did was I took like a piece like that fucking big and I stashed it underneath his couch. And he didn't notice at first, but then his weed wasn't equaling out when he was trying to go sell it. And he asked me, and I said, I don't know. I ain't touch your shit, bro. You're literally right next to me. You see me. Like, I'm not touching your shit. So then later that night, I had you. Are you familiar with like a gravity bomb?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we are like the biggest engineers on the planet, potheads. We can literally find anything to smoke out of. You give me this, and I will turn it into the best fucking pipe you've ever smoked out of. Okay, so I made my own gravity bomb, and so did Lance. Lance taught me how to make it, but I refined it and perfected it. So we had a Hawaiian punch base, those big Hawaiian punch bottles, and a 2-liter bottle of soda, a wrench cap, like a wrench socket, and then a cap to the 2-liter bottle of soda. So I would measure all this shit out equally to where everything fit perfectly. It was airtight and everything. So, I made my gravity bong. I filled it up with water, and I measured it to such a degree where the bottle didn't even need to be held. Like I could pull it up and it could sit there because of how perfect the measurement was to keep it enclosed. So like I could pull it and it would stay there, and I could pass it around to people when we would have like smoke sessions and all this other shit. And so like you take you also take the wrench socket and you melt it into the cap of the soda bottle. So, and then you put a screen in there, you pack it with weed, and then you also melt holes at the bottom of the soda bottle. So, the water could be filled in with you know where I'm going with this, right? Like I suck at explaining this shit right
No,
now.
you're fine.
But
well, it isn't also when you hit the gravity bong, isn't part of it is that water is going to push that smoke into your lungs deeper, right?
Literally, all right. So You
I've
pack the
used one
weed,
before, but
man. You pull it up, you light it, and then the whole thing just becomes so clouded with smoke. Unscrew the cap. I would literally milk my grab hits to such a point where you could not see through the fucking bottle, dude. Like I was such a fucking pothead, man. Like and it would just be like the biggest hit you've ever taken in your life, and it got to the point where I could not cough anymore. It was that serious with me. Like I wouldn't be able to cough. Like no matter how big of a hit I took, I
if you
just
did,
couldn't
it must have
cough.
been some serious shit.
Yeah, there were a couple times where I got caught off guard with some crazy ass weed, man. But like for the most part, I was a champ. I was conditioned to be a champ. And so one day Lance caught me packing my gravity bong because I didn't have money. I wasn't selling drugs I wasn't selling bud anymore, and he caught me packing it. And he was like, "Where did you get that?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck. I found it on the ground. I found it on the ground. You know how we are, man. We're carpet cruising, looking for fucking little pieces of nug that I, might have dropped." And he literally saw next to me, like, just a pile of little weed that I had. And that was our first falling out. And he was so fucking mad at me. We got into like such a big fight over it. He couldn't trust me and all this other shit, but he still allowed me to live there. And then there was one time where Lance had a lot of money in his room. He did grow weed, but that was for his personal shit. He had a lot of technology in his room. He literally had everything when it first came out. He had like, do you remember the first Android phone, the G2, and all this other
Oh
shit?
God, you
Yeah,
just hit
dude.
me with like
Yeah,
a
it was.
blast from the past right there.
Yeah, man. He bought that brand new when it first fucking came out, right? So he had all this amazing shit in his room: PS3, a 70-inch fucking plasma screen TV, a king size waterbed. His whole wall was full of fucking fitted hats and all this other shit. He had jerseys out, like the basketball jerseys out the ass. He had so much shit. So he wanted to keep his room locked. And he, like, we literally went to parties out the ass, raves, all this shit, dude. It was the best time of my life was back then. Like I had never had so much fun in my life. Um, but then I started seeing where Lance kept his keys for his room. And I got the bright idea to go in his room and start stealing weed and then, some money because I had no money for food and everything, and I was starving. And that was another part of the reason why I was losing so much weight, because I wasn't eating. And anytime I did get money, it went right to fucking weed. Like that's how deep I was in with like just smoking. Um, and then so but the money I would go steal from him, like, like $2 to $3 in quarters and shit. I would go buy like a little taquito at the 7-Eleven up the street, and then a black and mild because I was smoking at that point. Like um, and then one day his mom caught me coming out of his room when um he wasn't home, and she called him, and he fucking flipped. He was at work. He was actually at LA. He worked as a representative at LA Fitness because he wanted to get out of selling drugs. So he tried to start getting his life together, young, at that point in time of his life. And he called me, and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing in my room?" Blah 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 blah. And he told me to get the fuck out of the house. And so then I went. I was at that point in time. I was actually talking to a girl named Amanda, close to where I was born. She was in Bayonne, New Jersey. Newark and Jersey City, they're like literally like 20 minutes apart from each other. Um, so I was talking to this girl, Amanda, at that point in time, and when he told me to get out, I went to a psychiatric unit because I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I was confused. I was just worn out by my life at that point of everything that I've gone through, everything that I've seen. And then I was homeless on top of that. Um, and Yeah, I went to the psych unit. And I called that girl Amanda, and I told her what was going on, and she said, "Just come live with me." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it, let's do it." So then
So wait,
I
were
got
you
out of the
talking to
psych.
her when you were at your brother's house?
Lance's, yeah, yeah, we were talking online and stuff, and we were like talking about getting into a relationship and everything. Um, so she told me to go to Bayonne. I went up to Bayonne. Um, got out of the psych unit, went to Bayonne, and then I moved in with her, and we were together for, let's say, like 6 months, Amanda and I. Um, and that was a very toxic relationship, man. She was a psycho. I just couldn't deal with her. She would lie to me about everything. Um, she was talking to this certain guy every single fucking day. Um, and she told me he was just a friend. And then I would go through their previous messages on Facebook. Facebook back then, like even if you deleted messages with somebody, you could bring up a chat bubble, and I forgot how I did it, but you could essentially still look at the previous conversation back then. And literally, they were talking about having sex and all of this other shit while she was talking to me. Um, and just, I was so brokenhearted about it. So like it was on and off with shit like that while I was living there with her. And then I told her, you know what, I don't want to live here anymore. I'm just and then on top of that, her family was also getting tired of me living there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back to Tom's River. I'm on Social Security. The Board of Social Services helps people with Social Security, so they put me up in a hotel. Um, and while I was in that hotel, I left her. I left Amanda because I just couldn't be with somebody who I couldn't trust, and I felt like it was just too much for me to be with someone like that. I always had to worry about what she was doing, who she was with, who she was talking to, all this other shit. So I left her. At this point, the Board of Social Services, I had to go to a program every day. It was called the Guiding Light, and I had to be off drugs, and that was one of the most hardest, challenging things in my life because when I went there at first, I still had a really dirty urine, and they weren't willing. They gave me a certain amount of time to have clean urine, and I was smoking so much at that point that I literally stopped smoking for 3 months, and I still had THC in my system, dude. 3 fucking months, and I still had it in my system. So they said, if we're going to give you a certain amount of time. If you're going after 100 some odd days and you're still pissing hot, we're going to have to throw you out. And I really stopped. I stopped because I really just didn't want to deal with homelessness and all this other shit. So it got to a point where I pissed clean and everything. And throughout the entirety of that process, I met the mother of my kids, Shelby. I was on a before Meet Me, it was called My Yearbook. Yeah, do you remember My Yearbook?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
It was like Facebook, but you didn't need to be friends with somebody to see their newsfeed. Like you literally saw people in the vicinity in the area's newsfeed, right? And it was dating. It was a dating platform. I put up a picture on there, and Shelby commented on it, and she just was just goo goo gaga over me. Um, she came to the hotel and picked me up, and literally that night we had sex. That like literally that very night, not even 10 seconds after getting in the fucking house, we had sex. Um, and I thought that was it at that point. Like I didn't want nothing to do with her after that, but she would not leave me the fuck alone. She would not leave me alone. She would hit me up at the program. She would contact me all the fucking time. And I was just so infuriated. Like, bro, I was getting, I don't block people, but I was getting to that point where I wanted to block the girl. Like, dude, stop. Fucking enough. But she was very persistent. And I started giving into that persistence. Um, and for literally 6 months, we were with each other every single day. And I fell in love really, really, really hard. This is the first time in my life that I ever fell in love with anybody to that degree. And she wasn't in love with me. She was just so infatuated with how I looked and everything. Um, she didn't love me. And when I told her that, it broke my heart. Um, so as time went on,
Do you think she loved the idea of you, but not?
yeah, she loved the idea of who I was, and she loved the idea of just me, but she didn't love me. And I remember one day, I'll never forget it. She told me that, you know, I have love for you. I'm just not in love with you. You are not where my heart is. And
She
it
told you
hit me.
that?
So she told me that, yeah, to my face. And but she couldn't leave me alone either. And there was so many times where I told her I just don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want to be around you anymore. I just need to get away from you because like this is killing me. You know, like hanging out with you every day, having sex all the time. It's just fucking killing me, dude. I can't deal with this. Um
Yeah, that's
so
that's
there were
weird
times,
though, right? Because
yeah,
that
I
like
know.
for someone to be like they want to be, it's like
She
they don't know what
well,
they want.
she was talking to her ex-boyfriend in jail at the time too. So she was honestly waiting for him to get out of jail. His name was Pete. And then once he got out of jail, she was gonna throw me to the side and go be with him. But literally 2 weeks before Pete got out of jail, she got pregnant with my kid, Mason. Um, and she told me that she wasn't gonna talk to him, all this other shit. And then I go to find out that she ditches me for a day to go pick him up from jail and all this other shit. And I was so, so distraught. I was so fucking broken, dude. Like, I literally told her, listen, I can't talk to you no more. I don't care if you're fucking pregnant. I don't fucking give a shit. Let me know when the kid's born and I'll be there. But until then, don't fucking talk to me. You know how I feel about you, and you're still gonna do this shit to me. Like, just leave me the fuck alone. I'm done. Go away. And she drove off, and she was crying when she did. Uh, so I knew she loved me. I knew she. I don't care what she said. I knew she did. But um, she realized that she didn't want to be with Pete. She realized that she wanted to be with me, and she came to my house that night and told me to get in the car and so she could talk to me. And I said, "What do you want, dude?" And she said, I love you, and I'm sorry." And I fell for it because I don't think she loved me like she thought she did. Because literally the entirety of our 9 years together, dude, anytime I needed affection, anytime I needed any of that stuff, yeah, I got brushed off and pushed aside. And she didn't want to be a single mom. So, and we just kept having kids because we had sex a lot. So, um, she kept getting pregnant, and we have 3 kids together. Um, and we went through apartments, we went literally many cars, all this shit. Um, it was when we had our second son, Landon. That's when I got into the heavy drugs, the Suboxone, the heroin, the all this other shit because I worked off the books. I got this job in Seaside Heights. We got our apartment um, through the Board of Social Services, and I was working off the books. They were paying for our apartment, and I was making money for us. Shelby wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so I accommodated that, and I said, "Go ahead, be a stay. This is what you want. Be a stay-at-home mom. I got you. Go, and I'll go work." And so I started dabbling in a lot of shit because I was working crazy hours. I was working literally 12-hour days, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was working 15-hour days. So I was literally putting in 120, 130-hour weeks, man. It was nuts. And I would not have a single day off, literally at all. So back then I was only getting $9 an hour. Um, which was absolutely like good back then for just like a corner store job. Um, I found other ways to make money there though. My coworker Raj, he was an Indian, and he was doing dope, and he was dabbling in a lot of shit, and he's the one who introduced me to heroin. Um, I got so involved with dope that I started selling it out of the store as well. Like I would have my shit, and then I would have shit to sell, and I was also fucking with federal money through the lottery. So what I would do is people would come up and have a bunch of shit they were buying out of the store, right? I would upcharge them. Let's say their shit was literally $10. I'd be like, all right, 15.95, right? And the register, the way it was it wouldn't show you shit that was being rung up. It wouldn't even show you the price. And they did that for that very reason, because nothing on the store had prices on it. It would be, you wouldn't find out until you got up to the register. So I literally found a way to just upcharge people and them not question it whatsoever. So I would take that upcharge money, and literally by the end of the day, it'd be like $300 extra in the register, and then I would take that $300 over to the lottery, and then I would buy scratch offs with that money. And then also on top of that, whenever someone had a winning lottery ticket, I became so precise in seeing and spotting winners that I could easily tell what won whatever and how much they won. And I didn't even have to scan the lottery ticket. I would literally put my thumb over the barcode, pretend to scan it, and then give them the money out of there. And then I would also take that money that I upcharged from the register, and that's how I made that money back. Because the lottery register would have money missing, right? Like if they brought a lottery ticket over, I didn't scan it, and I just gave them money, there would be money missing out of there, right? So I would take that money that I upcharged from the main register and put it in there to make it seem like there was nothing going on. And then I would also take those winning lottery tickets and go cash them in at another store. So and then how I was selling dope out of the store, I would have pre-made bags of bundles of heroin in those bags. So like the shopping bags, the plastic shopping bags like this, I would have newspapers in them. But in between those newspapers, I would have bundles of heroin in between. And I had like 20 of them preset, right? Because I knew all the customers that were coming in to buy what. These people would go buy a cup noodle, put the money and the cup noodle in the microwave the cup noodle, and then leave the money in the microwave, and then take their bag of dope and their newspaper and their cup noodle and leave the store. And then that's how I made money too. I made a lot of fucking money there, and I wasted all of it on more drugs. And baby mom didn't know about any of it. I could have literally went to federal fucking prison for the dumb shit that I was doing, dude. And that's how I got addicted to dope. And it was at a point where there was so much bad heroin going around Seaside that people that I would serve started to die. And then that's when I started getting scared, because I didn't want none of that shit pointing back to me because of the shit I was selling people, but it wasn't coming from the shit I was giving people. It was coming from the shit other people were giving people. So I started to realize these people are fucking dying. God forbid I snort something or, shoot something up in the bathroom or whatever. God forbid that I do that and I fucking die. So then I got addicted to Suboxone. And baby, that's the shit that I told Shelby about the Suboxone. I told her that it was just something to help me work and all this other shit. And addiction runs in Shelby's family. So she didn't want me to be around the kids high. And I started literally hiding like subs in my kids' room and shit at that time. I was a piece of fucking shit, dude. I really was back then. So
What is Suboxone? Because I know what like black tar heroin and all that is, but I've never heard of Suboxone.
Suboxone is it's an opioid blocker. It's something to help. It's literally for opiate management. Like, you know, like they have methadone
Oh, okay.
clinics and
Okay,
stuff.
okay. No, I get it.
So yeah, so I would buy that off the street because I didn't have insurance or anything at that point in time.
It doesn't get you high though,
Um,
right? Doesn't it just blocks
when
the
when so when you have absolutely nothing in your system, no heroin or anything, you do get high off it. Oh yes, you get very fucking high because it's not an opiate, but it's a synthetic version of opiates. So it's called buprenorphine, and it literally attaches to the same receptors that opiates do, and it simulates a feeling of opiates. And this is why so many people who are on Suboxone, who are on methadone, who are on all this stuff stay addicted to it
methadone? I heard
because,
that. My buddy.
well, methadone is opiates. It's like a synthetic opiate. It's not legitimate opiates. So, but all of these things are forms. Oh shit!
I'm
Crap, my
still here.
battery. Oh, all
Oh,
right, cool. Let me plug my phone in. But damn, I didn't realize my battery was dying that fast.
oh, you good?
But yeah, I'm going through my whole life story. Holy shit. So I'm gonna fast forward to the point where Shelby left me. Um, I stopped doing all that stuff. I actually started working legitimately. I went through like 4 or 5 different jobs after that point. We went through 2 different apartments after that. Shelby's a good mom. She is a great fucking mother. She always put our kids first, and she still does. Um, I got so lost in trying to get someone to love me who didn't genuinely love me that I felt so empty and so lonely that I started cheating on her. I cheated on her like 10 fucking times because I desperately needed that thing that I needed from her, but she couldn't give me because you can't make somebody love you. I needed it from her, but I couldn't get it. And no matter what I did, it just wasn't there, man. Like it was there for the first month we were together. But after that point, something about it changed her view of me. Um, I got so angry and I was so lost and confused in that entire relationship. I became such an angry fucking person when I was with her because I saw an emptiness within herself because she didn't want to be with me. She felt stuck and trapped with me, and she didn't know any other way out because she wouldn't have anywhere else to go to. She wouldn't have anywhere else to be. And so she felt like she needed to stay. And one day I came home from work and literally like in 2020, it was in September of 2020 at some point, but came home from work and she told me that she couldn't be with me anymore and she never loved me and she felt trapped with me and now it's time to move forward with our lives. You know, she wants to go find her happiness. And this is when we actually moved into her dad's house. Her dad um, had a house that he was renting out to a bunch of people from his church. So he bought a house and he renovated it to where it could be like an apartment almost. And he had people from his church in there renting. But then all of those people started moving on. They started leaving the house and everything. And then he offered us, hey, you know what? Come here. You can, you can rent here and you could rent to own it and all this other shit. So that's what, I felt like things were finally looking up. But then 2 months later, after moving there, that's when she left me. And she finally felt like she had a solid way to actually, like, go find herself and go find her happiness. And she lost herself with me too. And I don't want it to make it seem like I'm playing a victim or anything. I was a bad fucking person when I was with her. And I was so addicted to so many, like, to just drugs in general, that, like, I was just trying to substitute a feeling of just want and need with anything I could get my hands on, and that would be including other people that I was cheating on her with. Um, I felt like she was cheating on me too. There was actually evidence of her cheating on me. She won't admit it, but there was so many different things, and there's so many different views of how a person looks at like it's cheating. Like, thanks to social media today, dude, literally, you flirting with somebody outside of your relationship is cheating to me. Like, if I catch you talking to a certain dude behind my back, um, you know, and it's of sexual nature and all this shit, that's cheating. So I use that as a catalyst to justify my actions, right? Like, well, she's fucking cheating. I don't give a shit. I already know she's probably physically cheating on me when I go to work. I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And it wasn't the right thing to do. It really wasn't, man. And I feel bad for all the shit that I did. Because I somewhere deep inside, man, I do feel like I made her stay with me. Um, I intentionally got her pregnant so that she wouldn't leave, and I did it the wrong way. And I learned a lot from that relationship with her. I learned that I don't ever want to feel like I'm alone in a relationship. I don't want to cheat on someone ever again. I don't want to do that stuff. And I changed when she left me. I did so much soul searching and all this other stuff. Like, I was abusive, dude. Like, I was abusive to my kids. I was abusive to her at times because of how angry I was that I was coming home to somebody who didn't fucking love me. And
Would you
it's
say
crazy.
would you say you were repeating that pattern we talked about earlier?
What do you mean?
Um, with your mom, the way your mom was, the way
Yeah,
your grandma was,
yeah.
and
It was because of the way I was raised, man. Like, honestly, like, that's how I processed anger. You know, because that's how I saw the adults get angry, was getting loud and, all this other shit. So that's how I became, was very loud and very aggressive. And I never hit my kids or anything, but I did get loud. I did scream. I did throw shit. I did do all that stuff. And I I don't have any excuse for it. I really don't. There was nothing to warrant that stuff, BPD or not. You know, I did things that probably affected my kids in such a negative manner, um, that no amount of apologies in this world could say sorry to them or her for all the shit that happened throughout those 9 years.
so
Um,
go ahead, go ahead.
no, you're good. Good.
Um, when did you find out that you had BPD?
Oh man, that was literally after I had a relationship with this girl named Jocelyn, right? Um, so Joss was one of my followers. Um, she was in Rhode Island and I was in West Virginia, and I
Is
had
this
my snap.
pretty? Is this pretty recent?
This was literally last year. Um, it's 2023, so no, this was 2021. Um, I had my snap when I used to have Snap. I had it in my bio on TikTok, and this girl reached out to me one day, and we started talking, and literally just never stopped. Um, and we were talking about our traumas and all the shit we went through growing up and all this stuff. And she told me she was a single mom and all this other stuff. And that was attractive to me because I felt like deep down inside it was a chance for me to like do the dad thing all over again. Even if it wasn't with my kids, it's just being a dad for so long, dude. And then just not being a dad at all, you just kind of feel empty. So like I was looking for any way I could to get that dad feeling again because when I left Jersey, I didn't have anywhere to go. She asked me to leave with nowhere to go. I had nowhere. So my mom actually reached out to me and told me to go back to West Virginia. So I had a place to stay, heal, and recover. And that's how I got off subs, and that's how I got clean, and that's how I started to look deep within myself about what the fuck is wrong with me and why I am this way. And that's how my whole self-healing journey began, was when Shelby left me. Um, and so fast forward to the Jocelyn thing. Like I said, she was a follower of mine, and she had her own house in Rhode Island, and she told me, you know what? Come out here. I got you. We're going to help you get your life together. And then, you and I could probably work on something. So I fly out there. And literally for that first month, it was like one of the best relationships I've ever been in. She literally spoke my love language so fluently and to such a degree that I've never been able to have with anybody else in my life. I felt really hard for Joss. And then as time went on, more of my BPD started coming out. And it was becoming really hard for her to handle. But she was doing certain things like, coursing me to get her pregnant so we could have a family and all this other stuff. She got my initial tattooed on her ring finger. She did all this stuff to make it seem like she really loved me. You know what I'm saying? And that she really wanted me to be her forever thing. And then one day we got in a really bad fight. And that was it for her. She said, listen, I want you out of my fucking house. I don't care where you go. I don't care where you stay. I'm getting an abortion and I don't ever want to see you again. So literally, I had to walk in the middle of a snowstorm. Well, it wasn't storming, but it was snow everywhere on the fucking ground, a couple miles to the airport that she was in, or the airport that I flew in, broken fucking hearted, with like no answers to anything. She just threw me away. And I understand why, because I'm really hard to be with sometimes because of my BPD, and I get that. And so I didn't hold any grudges or any resentment towards her. When someone like me is brokenhearted, dude, it is not like something someone else goes through. It is such a thing. I can't move. I can't get out of bed. Like when Shelby left me, dude, I literally lost 12 pounds in a week. I quit my job. I was just in bed, depressed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. I was just lost. So yeah, I flew back to West Virginia. And for literally 6 months, I was devastated. It felt like Shelby all over again, honestly. That's how hard it hit me. And then, I had a little couple talking phases in between then. I got ghosted one time by this girl named Grace. That kind of made me really upset. But then I met Ileana, my current relationship. Ileana has paranoid schizophrenia. She is literally one of the most wholesome, down-to-earth, sweet, kind-hearted people I have ever had the pleasure to talk to in my life. And she was persistent about me for like 6 months. The very first time she told me on TikTok. Um, and oh, I kind of got off topic there. But it was after the relationship with Joss is when I started to understand what my BPD was. And that's when I started talking, to that therapist, Jamie. She did the whole BPD test thing on me, and she said, "Yep, you display BPD characteristics." Um, so it was a way of being diagnosed, but without being officially diagnosed because she's a therapist, or I mean, she's a psychiatrist. So, like, she works in the whole mental health field and everything. So I started making BPD content before I got officially diagnosed when I was out in Kansas City. And then it just started picking up so much fucking traction. And you know, and one thing led to another. I started doing it at like 30,000 followers, and now I'm literally almost at 130,000 followers. So, um, yeah, my whole thing is just this whole self reflection thing that I'm been doing for these past couple of years, trying to
So,
understand myself. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I hate cutting you off, but
No, you're good.
it's man, that you went through a lot right there. So, um, you you start when did you really start the page? Because you said you had that snap on the TikTok, right?
Yeah. So I started doing TikTok in general in February of 2021. Um, I really didn't start posting a lot of content until May of 2021. Like I made a couple videos here and there, um, um, and none of them would get any views until I started doing thirst traps. Like a couple of my old thirst traps literally got like 80, 90,000 views. I deleted all of those because when I was with Jocelyn, she got so insecure about like she got so insecure that any woman would talk to me or even look my way that I literally would like, push people aside. I would make videos. Dude, I literally changed from who I used to be. Now I am so monogamous. Like through this self healing journey and understanding myself, I found out I'm a demisexual now. Like, and what demisexuality is, you cannot get physically intimate with another person unless you have an emotional connection with them. And it
Oh
wasn't like
shit.
that when I was on drugs because I was numbing myself with drugs. I was literally like, I didn't understand myself at that point in time. I was so numb to like just everything that the only thing I sought after was just love and affection. And anybody who threw that my way, I got in bed with them. And that's how it was. And some of those people I got really attached to. Like not really attached, but I got attached to some of those people. Um, but now forget it. I won't cheat. I won't look at another woman. I won't do any of that shit, dude. It's crazy to think about the person I was compared to who I am now. And I'm not saying I'm perfect because nobody is, but the amount of change that I've put into myself, man, I can say that I'm proud of myself. I have a lot to do still, but I'm proud of who I am. And I'm proud of the community that I built on this app. And I'm proud of all the people who continue to make it day in and day out dealing with these fucking demons that can literally change you and turn you into a person that you don't know. Because I've been down that road. I've literally for years I was somebody I didn't recognize in the mirror because of just life and circumstances and everything else. And it took me to go through a really bad breakup for me to understand that I needed to change because I was living a
So
way that nobody should.
for like, I feel like we talked about this off camera, but like a lot of people don't even really know what BPD is. Can you kind of go into what what it is and
So,
how it
so
presents itself?
BPD in a nutshell is just emotional instability. that's even the second terminology for it through the psychiatric community, like professional psychiatrists and stuff, is emotionally unstable. Um, emotionally unstable, like emotionally unstable personality disorder. That's EUPD, but it goes by BPD from just everybody else. So it's just you are unstable to the finest degree. You literally feel also all your feelings at the toppest of, like, you feel everything to an extreme. It's, like I said it in a bunch of my videos, like when I'm happy, I feel like I'm in heaven. When I'm sad, or I mean when I'm angry, I feel like I'm burning in hell. When I'm sad, I'm suicidal, and then when I'm going through a heartbreak, I'm a shattered mess. So that is like a big indicator of BPD in general, is just how unstable a person is and how fast they can shift through their emotions. Literally, I could literally be happy and fine and everything, but I'll have one intrusive thought instantly right there, like faster than any fucking computer can process any type of commandment. I shift into a negative downward spiral. Um, there have been times where I'll think my girl's cheating on me, Ileana, and she won't cheat on anybody. She doesn't have a bone in her body to cheat on anybody. But I'll get thoughts of, and I'll start looking at patterns of how things are. And the second you deviate away from my baseline for how I view you, the second you deviate away from that pattern, I start to think about shit. And then I start thinking about shit that's not real, like her cheating on me, and then feeding it so deeply. God damn it. Hold on. Oh, my thing wasn't plugged in. No. No, hold on. Let me unplug this. There we go. Yeah. All right. Um yeah, I didn't know my charger wasn't plugged into the outlet. So, but like that, it becomes so vivid and so real to me that it literally dictates my feelings and emotions, some of these things. And it becomes so uncontrollable at times. It feels like sometimes it's literally impossible to change.
So
But
what's the
yeah,
difference
that's how
between
it.
like that and like maybe like say like bipolar, right?
So people with BPD, this is like one of the big indications, right? People with bipolar disorder, their feelings don't change as fast as people with BPD. Like a person with bipolar, if they're upset, they could live, like they literally stay upset for the entire day, right? Or when they're manic and they're going through a happy thing, they stay like that for days, even sometimes. Before it shifts into something else. People with BPD, we shift like that at the drop of a hat for literally no fucking reason at all. It just happens. And that's what
Oh
makes it so
wow.
hard to deal with. Yeah.
Makes me wonder. We talked before, but maybe my dad had, for all I know, might be had it.
See what I'm saying? That's what I said. It
Yeah,
sounds a lot like me, dude. You know,
because it would happen quick. We're not talking like a day. No, we're talking minutes.
instantly, right?
Yeah, like you left the room and came back, and you're like, what happened? Like,
Exactly. That's a big indication of BPD, dude. Like BPD can be really hard to diagnose in some people. Um, but in
yeah.
other instances and cases, it's very easy to see. It's different for everybody.
So, how would you? It sounds like you're going through like you're still going through a lot of the healing and
I
probably
am.
sorting out like how I get through all the trauma and bullshit of life.
Oh, absolutely. I am.
How
Yeah.
are you dealing with that now? Like, how are you trying to get better?
I cry, dude. I know, like, not many people like to admit stuff like that. I cry every day about everything that I've gone through in my life. every day. So that's how intense it gets for me. Like thinking about certain things that I've gone through. Um, Sometimes I'll get so mad that I'll cry about it. Sometimes I get so sad that I just cry about it. Other times I just get so empty enough to where I fucking cry about it. And it's because of the sobriety aspect of it too. I actually feel stuff a lot now that I never want to feel. And this is why it's so hard for us to stay clean because of how fast and how wild our feelings change and our feelings shift. It becomes really unmanageable. And some people, the only way they can manage these feelings is just to use drugs. And even then, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Some people seem to get this false sense of hope or false sense and ideology that it does work because, they're going through all these feelings and emotions still, but as long as they're not sad or depressed, it doesn't fucking matter. But it still doesn't work. It's not a way to deal with your feelings, dude. Fucking using drugs. I yeah. And recently, like, I fucked up out here. Um, I I uh I started using drugs again for about a month. Um, because the sobriety, dude, it is so fucking hard sometimes. Um, that I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with the shift in my feelings. I don't want to deal with the ins and outs of how low and how happy I can be. Most of the time, man, I'm fucking miserable. I'm angry, I'm miserable, I'm depressed. Um and I'm tired of feeling that way. So I felt like, maybe, if I go back on subs, maybe that'll help. And then I started looking for subs, and then I got on subs, and then I got heavy into subs again. And I started seeing that it wasn't changing anything. This is just me. I'm depressed deep down inside because I also have major depressive disorder. I have a bunch of stuff wrong with me, but BPD is one of the more prevalent things next to, my depression. My depression is the thing that affects me the most, but then it's BPD.
So
BP. Oh, go ahead.
have you tried like, and this probably if this comes off as just naive or whatever, but have you tried maybe like exercise and like meditation and things like that?
Yeah, those things do work for a little while. Well, meditation, I can't get down because I can't stop my thinking. Like my train of thought, dude, I think about a million things a second, right? Like how that's how my brain operates. I can't silence that enough to even meditate. There's just no way. I've tried it. I've tried it many fucking times because I hear people who thrive off of it, who thrive off of meditation. And it pisses me off because it seems like something that I would like to do, but I just can't get a hold of it right now. Um, Exercise, I would do some workouts here and there. When I was growing up with Lance and stuff, and when I was living with him and I actually went to LA Fitness like every fucking day. Um, and that's how he became a salesperson working there was through LA Fitness. But no, it didn't really work for me that well. Some people will swear by it. They'll swear by working out and all this other shit. Me, it's not more my thing.
Well, I know it's just like I feel like those are good questions because it's like, well, how does someone? And
Oh
it
yeah,
sounds like
for
you're
some
still
people,
figuring that out. To be
yeah,
honest,
yeah.
um,
Some people, it does work for them because working out releases endorphins, and it creates those feelings of euphoria that are almost on par with drugs. Um, and it works for a lot of people. Um, but what I'm doing right now, dude, is I'm so fucking depressed. I sleep all the time. Ileana is the same. Like, and that's what kind of got us to stop because Ileana, she was getting involved with the subs too. She has paranoid schizophrenia, and it made it worse. And we were fighting a lot and everything. So we both said, you know what, I don't want this relationship to end over drugs. I don't want, the love we have for each other to go out the window because we both become addicted to shit. Fuck this. I love you. And I don't want to lose you. And I'll stop. And I did. And so did she. So we're still trying to figure out this life thing, her and I. Um, I know we love each other very much. And I know that if I would have met her when I was younger, I would not have been ready for her. I had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout my life to get to the point where I am right now. And I would have ended up breaking her heart, or she would have done the same thing to me. And I would have lost out on a really good person. So I'm glad that I met her when I did.
I'm still trying to unpack like everything you've talked about. It's a pretty crazy story.
Yeah,
Um,
I went through a lot, man.
if
Everybody's got a story, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah,
I never really spoke about this stuff on camera. Never. Like, ever to anybody. This is stuff that I keep to myself, you know. So, but the whole point of my TikTok, man, is like I said before we started recording, was to reach people who feel alone in the same way that I do, who's been through a lot of stuff and who feel like nobody understands. Um, I understand. I know exactly what you're going through. And I know that there are thousands of others just like us who understand what you are going through. And that is why I made the community that I did. To let those know that there is hope somewhere. You know, there have been so many times where I've wanted to unalive myself. I still fight those feelings all the time. And sometimes it's like on a day-to-day basis. Like like I would probably be better off not here, my kids would just be better off without me, even like they are right now. It would be better off that, the mother of my kids didn't have to sit there and think about why I'm not there and rather just think about where I am, like that I'm gone now, all that other stuff. But those are just parts of the BPD thing, literally. We people like us, we fight with those feelings all the fucking time. And I felt like a fucking, I don't know, like I wouldn't talk about it because I felt like I would be crying out for attention or something. And that is why I wouldn't talk about it. I still have a problem talking about those feelings because, my girl is going through her own thing right now with depression. And I don't want to add to that because of the shit she's going through, So I keep a lot of these feelings to myself still. Um, I did make it a goal this year to actually start going in to get treatment at some point. Um, the only thing that I did, man, was get diagnosed. All I do on this platform is just share thoughts and ideas with people. And let them walk through a minute or a day or an hour through my shoes of how my day is going. That's all I do. And
I
I
think
never expected it to blow up the way it did.
I think a lot of people want, if they relate to you, they don't want to feel alone, right? And
Yeah.
having someone else that maybe is going through a similar situation or has a different perspective on life is pretty powerful.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of like the
Oh,
whole,
yeah.
I'm not, like, kind of the reason why I interview people that I feel like have have gone through experiences or have, like, maybe knowledge that they could share with like the community.
Yeah.
That hopefully somebody say is listening to this can be like, oh wow, or maybe they listen to it and like, oh, they get the like spark, like maybe I have BPD, or you know, or
Yeah.
they can just pull some sort of bit of wisdom from it, right? That's like the whole kind of
The whole point of it.
the whole point of it. If you were to give any advice to somebody that has BPD, what would it be?
There are so many people out there who literally are walking their last day on this planet, who know that this will be the last day that they get to walk or talk to anybody ever again. And my advice is don't let today be your last day. Keep fighting. I know that times get really fucking hard and really lonely. Studies show that people with BPD, up to 70% of these people attempt suicide because of how hard it is to deal with these feelings. Um, it's also proven that BPD is one of the most difficult mental health conditions to have, the most painful mental health condition to have. Um, Keep fighting because you don't know the life that you desperately want to have, the peace, the serenity, the just the just the stableness that you desperately want. You won't know what that will be like if you stop fighting. Continue to push on because you don't know what tomorrow has in store for you. You won't know. You won't. The second you stop writing pages in your book, man, is the second your book won't be published. You gotta fight. And myself, along with thousands of other people in the BPD community, will stand by you as you fight through this.
That's powerful, man.
That's Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So for anybody that's like that say they find my podcast and want to know more about you, where would they be able to find you?
Oh, TikTok. BPDJersey. Literally. That's it. You type BPDJersey on Google. Yeah, that's the only thing you see. On Facebook, I'm just Zackare DiMaria.
So you don't have a
And that's
YouTube
the only
channel currently?
I do. I just don't really post anything on it. I am thinking about converting over to YouTube at some point. Just because I fucking am starting to hate TikTok, dude. Like I get my lives taken down all the time. I'm just so tired of it. I am thinking about doing YouTube shorts sometime this year. I'm just trying to figure out a way to convert all of it, make the conversion, I guess.
Okay, no, I got you. Well, it's been
Yeah.
awesome, man. I've enjoyed having you, and
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking, man. It's been a wild ride going through all these memories and all these things that I've been through again. Some of these things I haven't thought about in fucking years, man, years. So, but you know, if I could help somebody through my experience and they can take something out of what I have to say and apply it to their own life, man, I'm doing my job, like I said off camera. So, it's been a pleasure, my dude.
yeah, man. It's weird, man. So like sometimes I'll do a podcast, and I think we talked about like I get empathic, right? Like I hear someone's story, I try to like be in their shoes, and so like I
Yeah.
have to like process everything you've told me. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, because
It
it's
can be
not.
a lot. It
Well,
can be
yeah,
a
I mean
lot.
I've had my
Especially,
own bullshit and everything I've been through, but like I think it was Jordan Peterson that said it is like I find other people more interesting than myself,
mm,
right?
yeah,
That's the
pretty
try to
powerful thing.
yeah, I try to take on that mindset, because if you think about other people are like a whole nother world. Like your
Oh
thoughts,
yeah,
the places you've been, it's like going to like another country. I've
absolutely.
You're like a whole like me. It's like I'm experiencing. As weird as it may sound, I'm experiencing you, right? Like,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
like I'm feeling like, I'm like a lot of emotion. Just, it's a lot to take in at once when someone pours,
process,
when someone pours their heart out to you. Like I feel like I know you more intimately than I know.
That's literally the point of what I was trying to do. Was to show people, like, even though no matter, you're going through a lot of hard shit right now, and it's understandable, but you have to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing on, no matter how like lonely or pointless it may seem. Life is not meant to be easy, and life is a messy fucking thing. But you have to find your place in it, because if you don't, no one's going to find it for you, man. And you're just going to be drifting through life doing nothing but that, drifting. Got to find your place in this planet, in this world, and make your mark on it before you leave. That's how I feel.